this is Brenda with Midlife Single, and today I am here with Beth Keil. She is a board certified hypnotist and a registered nurse, and today we're going to be talking about stress eating in the COVID times. So Beth, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you already said, and it's really great to be here, Brenda. Thank you for inviting me. I am a board certified hypnotist or hypnotherapist, and I work with people about weight loss and stress eating and sugar all the time. And there's a very personal part for me. I grew up overweight, and this is actually a picture of me from 17 years ago, and I was 7 to 8 sizes larger. I knew how to lose weight, find it, and just in case I ever lost it again, like your keys, I had spare weight on me as well. So that happened for years, like many people. So I know this experience very, very intimately, and I do know we are living, who could have imagined back in January, February, even the beginning of March, that we would be, we'd be Zooming each other, or we'd be, virtualing each other, and here we are, and people are home with refrigerators, people are home with cupboards or cabinets, and with or without people are dealing with a lot of different things. And one of them is the stress eating. So
yeah, I mean, I know that when this started, I was on a really good track. I had, I exercise all the time anyway, but I had implemented a really good diet into my life, and now I find myself stress eating. I had stopped eating after like 4 or 5 o'clock at night. And then now I find myself not being able to sleep because I'm stressed out about everything going on. And so, I get a craving for sugar or something at, midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. So I find myself doing that. And, usually I'm sitting at my desk. With my job, I travel a lot with my job. And so now I'm in the house all the time, and the refrigerator's right next to me, and it's calling my name every 5 minutes, So yeah, exactly. And it's rough. So it's, how do you not look at your refrigerator? I hear the sugar calling.
Brenda!
Yes,
It knows our name. It knows exactly what to say to us, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things that come into play with it. And I love what you've been doing for yourself in terms of, creating health and well-being. And, there's a thing to keep in mind, a couple of things. There's like different tracks into this. One is that we can make ourselves wrong. We could judge ourselves. We can feel shame. We can feel guilt, the judgment, and blame ourselves, which is kind of like the trio of judgment. The shame, the blame, and making wrong. There's one other one it's escaping me, but there's 3 together, but they're all wrapped up in judgment. And when we do that, our name is going to be called even louder by the refrigerator, because
Really?
we feel bad. Well, right. No, if you feel bad, it's like, when I was younger and I would binge, or when I was really, actively just overeating, eating when I wasn't hungry because I was being beckoned to the refrigerator or the cabinet. It's like, it's kind of like most people, if they're going to start a diet, and there's a whole other conversation another time about, is that people don't start on a Friday or a Saturday. They'll start on Monday, because in the weekend, they're just going to, until they,
right.
Right. So we have that. If that's what's happening for a person, you already have a history around food and eating, and it's wrapped around emotions. And with the guilt and shame that we can feel is that, well, you know what? I messed up. Might as well eat the whole thing now, right? So if we're getting into that, that's another part of the stress eating when we're not hungry, or we're eating because we need something else, but we don't know what it is that we're trying to feed or numb or soothe.
Like sometimes I even feel like it's boredom, I just, I'm used to being so active in my lifestyle, just being out all the time doing things. And now I just, I find myself sitting around watching Netflix and whatever, and eating while I'm doing that. And it's kind of out of boredom too,
Well, it's a really great one. I have people that tell me about boredom, but in most cases, most of the time I found, because I've been working as a hypnotherapist for over 17 years, so I've got a log of clients, is when a person is bored, there is a thought that we need to be productive and busy. That becomes part of what we do. We need to be productive. We need to have something at the end of the day that we can, we can measure, we can see.
Right.
And if we're not, what people can feel is an inner judgment that goes, if I'm not productive, I'm not good enough. If I'm not doing enough, there's something wrong with me. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to drill a little bit, and that's so important if you're stress eating or using any type of distractor, an unwanted habit, when you're not addressing what's inside, which are the emotions. Because stress is another word for fear. It's just another word for it. And fear can be from worry to concern to all out panic. So when, again, we're bored, I'm supposed to be busy, I'm supposed to be productive, and I'm not. I'm a slug. I'm watching Netflix, I'm watching Amazon, I'm watching Hulu. I'm trying to put some other parts, other streamers that you can have.
Right.
So underneath that is that people can feel this judgment about themselves. They might feel guilty. They might feel that they're not adequate. There's something wrong with them. And that if people really found out that they weren't fill in the blank, that people would not want them in their life. They would not be wanted. Now, part of what I'm speaking is a very old history that we carry in our subconscious mind. It's not like our subconscious mind exists in a part of our brain. It's the subconscious mind is the library of our life, everything that's ever happened. And it's cross-referenced through emotions. It can also be cross-referenced by what we smell, how we feel, all of those things. So I'm just going to say to you, is to kind of look at when you're saying, is what judgment do you have about not being productive? Because it's not about being bored, it's that you're not being productive and a judgment around that. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. Yeah. Because when, someone's coming from a really active lifestyle and then finding themselves sitting around doing nothing, and it's kind of like a control thing too. Like you don't have any control over what's happening right now. And
right.
If you were an active person and you find yourself not being active, I mean, it's a tough thing to handle. And it's like you sit here thinking, I should be doing this, I should be doing this, I should be doing this, but you can't,
Right.
So it kind of plays with your mind. Yeah.
It does. And it's all an inner game in that way. And then there's sometimes too, I know for the last couple of weeks, I haven't had the energy. There's certain things that I absolutely did, but other times it was like not this, I didn't have the energy to like be out there, and I had to do my own self. Okay, what's going on? I needed to, there was a time for me, and people's ways are different, that we've needed to take a time out if we've been able to, if we're not working outside the home, if things are different and our businesses are shifted, because like you, I'm self-employed. Right. So in noticing that, in the boredom, is that it has an emotional root, and there's a feeling around that doesn't feel comfortable. So we're going to look for something that I'm going to call a distractor to numb, soothe, take me away from this. Mm-hmm. That's why people are not eating carrots. People are eating carbohydrates. They're not the complex, but the simple ones that turn into sugar very quickly in our body, and we get numbed out. Right? Right. So it's kind of distinguishing that I'm the sugar, the food is calling our names. Mine, I will say, mine has not done that for a long time, which I'm grateful for. Yeah, for me, the hypnosis is what did it for me. But I know when it did, it's because there was something that was missing. There was something I needed, and the food was the only way that I knew with which to soothe myself. Because I was looking for comfort, for soothing, for numbing, for taking me away. Mm-hmm. The problem is that we can come away from that behavior if we're overeating, or even if it's smoking or what other distractor we might have, is we then judge ourselves again. I'm wrong. How could I do it? I could have stayed asleep. Why did I stay in bed? Why did I buy it? And that's going to trigger the judgment, the shame, the blame, and the guilt. Right. And again, we've got a trifecta. So what are we going to do when we feel that way? We're getting called for more food. Does that make sense too? Right? We're like on those hamster wheels going really fast. No way.
Right.
And if we can step back, so there's a couple of things to do in that, whether it be boredom, whether it be the fear. I mean, we don't have, I think, if you think about it, we don't have control of most of the things that are going on. We plan things, something else comes up, which means we don't have absolute control over the way things go, right?
Right.
But it's in our faces. As Fred said, it's like a squid. It's right on your face. You can't look around it. Because we're not in control of when certain restrictions are going to be done, what we can do, when things will be. So it's more highlighted and focused. And in not having that control can feel very, very scary. And again, that fear that we have presently now has a history to it. And that's what's getting triggered. And as I think we've had a previous conversation, that triggers 12 years or younger. And it's subconsciously stored, but our conscious memory doesn't have it. So what to do when you're feeling fearful? And again, if you don't think you're being productive enough, and what are you going to do in the judgment? There's a fear underneath the judgment and shame as well. Fear is like the inner aspect of the wheel of a spoke, and things are off of it. So here's some things, because I don't want to leave anybody hanging going, oh yeah, that's me. Yeah, I know that. Yeah. Okay, great. What do I do now?
Right.
So there's a couple of things to do. One is when the food is calling you, the refrigerator knows you, speed dials you, right?
It does.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One is if we can be light about it and not be in the judgment about it and be understanding, we're going to take a lot of those layers of fear and reaction off, which means we can settle down some. Our nervous system gets calmer. So what we can notice if we're getting called, I'm not hungry, but it's, it is a feeling, and no amount of food, alcohol, any drink is going to take care of it. I mean, I could do a 6-pack. Well, you can tell how long ago back in high school, Tab was out. I guess it's still out now. I have no idea. I don't drink soda anymore. I could go through a 6-pack of Tab and still have that empty feeling. There's no way physiologically that was empty. My stomach was bloated. I had 6 cans, 12-ounce cans of soda, carbonation. But what was going on is emotionally, there was this emptiness, this hole that I was trying to fill.
Right.
So a cue to have, like one of like a keyword is, if you're getting called, is that there is definitely an emotion. There's a need, want, or desire that's not being met. For some, it could be the need for feeling that you've got a say in something, that you have some impact. I'm not going to use the word control, but you've got impact. From being helpless, because if you feel you have no control, that's a feeling of helplessness, versus being engaged and active. What can I do? Another aspect to that is to think about with the humming that it's calling is, what am I needing, wanting, or desiring? I teach clients when they work with me, or in some of the groups that I do, is to teach about what are our emotions telling us. So I'm going to give you like a really, you and everybody listening, a really quick lowdown on what are the feelings that could be coming up. First of all, fear is the mother of all of them. When in doubt, go to fear. And fear doesn't have to be that something, you're not in the middle of a hurricane or a monsoon or an earthquake, things like that. But we have an old part of our brain that is reacting to fear as if there is physical harm. It's about survival. That's why fear can take us to 0 to 80 in seconds. It's protective. It's just not real helpful for at home and refrigerators there, right?
Right.
So the distinguishing of all these things is, what is the feeling that's going on? What am I afraid of? I'm home, for those of people, single people, maybe home alone. My plants are my companions. They don't talk, need watering, and they need attention. That works. But it can be being by yourself. If you're an extrovert, when they see on, what was the Facebook post going, check on your extroverted friends, they're not doing well, this is serious. Yes. Maybe doing this. Other people are thriving. I know somebody's getting more courses done. I'm going, okay. So
You're like, good
Yeah,
for you.
but that's
I
not
had my
me.
10th Kit Kat today.
Right, exactly, exactly. So it's looking at what are we needing? What is underneath that fear? The loss of control, the loss of connection, not feeling loved, not feeling important. It can be the fear of I'm never going to have my life back. The fear of what is my life going to be later. Will I ever? You and I talked at other times. How the hell do you date with this going on? You know, if you don't have somebody on your Zoom or on your phone contacts, where do you find them? Right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it's like, fear, am I always going to be alone? So things are getting triggered. We can be neutral about it, free of judging ourselves about it, and kind of go, okay, let me listen. What am I needing? I'm needing connection. How much connection can a Kit Kat give me?
Right.
Not really much.
None.
So it's really taking that time to go in deeper about what you're needing, wanting, and desiring. Reaching out to a friend if there's somebody that you can process. I'm an out loud processor, so my friends know I'll just say, hey, I just need you to listen. Sometimes we need to journal different ways of connecting as deep as we can. But hands down, 100%, you get called to a food or a drink, it's because there's a feeling going on that you're trying to soothe, numb, and feel better from. But the bottom line is it can't do it because it's not designed to. So knowing that is a really key strategy. Another part can be, okay, maybe you need something sweet. Maybe you need really hone in, what is it that will satisfy you? Is it the temperature, the texture? Is it a tummy food or a mouth food? A mouth food would be potato chips. A tummy food would be mashed potatoes. They fit differently. They feel differently. Do I need something spicy, sour, sweet, or salty? Really hone in, what am I needing? Because when we can satisfy, and this goes beyond the food, because if we're doing it around food, we need to ask, where else in my life am I not meeting my needs, wants, and desires? Do I even know them? So by doing that and really honing in of what will satisfy, I don't like cold coffee. I think coffee ice cream, I just don't get. To me, coffee has to be hot.
Right.
Otherwise, I don't drink it. It's like a no-brainer for me. So it's really looking at what will satisfy with the food. So there could be some healthy alternatives. If you're having a Kit Kat, is it the sweetness? Is it the wafers that are in it? Is it
wafers?
Okay. Now you know the texture.
Right.
So if it's the wafers, are there healthier choices that aren't going to bring your blood sugar up high and all those other issues, also brings your immune system down? We are all needing regularly. We are all needing really strong immune systems, and especially now. So it's really honing in, what of the experience? Could it be that you separate them and it's one at a time? It's the feel of it. I know for me, Hershey Kisses, when I would have them, melts in your mouth, roof of my mouth, it's melting, it's in my fingers. Sometimes, I'll take them and let it melt. And here in Arizona during the heat, it's really easy. Just if I would lick my fingers, it's just this, it's a very sensuous, very sensory experience. So the more we can drill down into what am I needing, we can do that. Now, I mentioned on a Facebook Live, dark chocolate, 85% dark chocolate and I are having a good love affair. We don't see each other often, but they're there in my cabinet. And I've got bears as well, just in case. And I just know, what am I needing from it? So it's just, I'm needing serotonin. And serotonin, the dark chocolate brings us. So does a sweet potato. If we're needing that kind of boost, there are foods that can do that for us. So the more we can ask and really connect in, what am I needing? What is this about? You'll find the refrigerator gets quieter, or if it is calling your name, you go, okay, wait a minute. You're a signal. Embrace. Thank you so much for signaling to me there's something that's not being met that I need to pay attention to.
Right.
Yeah, so the more clear. And again, it's kind of like being single and dating. Don't you have an idea of who you want to date? It's kind of like saying to the food, who am I going to let in to my body? What am I going to have?
That's a good point.
This distinction is like a tool about stress eating or fear eating along with everything else. Am I listening? Am I listening? And that's really key. Yeah.
I think it's hard too being single because you don't have, there's not like a partner or support or anything around you that's like maybe living in the house with you that you can bounce ideas off of or talk to, say, hey, I'm having an issue here, you know, whatever. And I think it makes it a little bit harder, you know, for people that are alone and feeling isolated, even more so now than they were before, because we can't go out and be at a bar with people or go out and meet our friends for dinner or whatever the case may be. So how do we deal with those types of issues?
Well, I think it's really great. I think we need to find out what are we needing. Again, the introverts are going to have a whole different reality than an
Right.
extrovert. We see it differently. So coming down, again, drilling down, what are you needing? I'm needing connection. What I'm hearing in that is I'm needing meaningful connection, somebody who can listen, somebody whose input I trust. It's very helpful for me. And so it's really honing in, who am I needing to speak with? That they're not going to be there. You could say, hey, go into another room and say, you know, can we sit and talk or whatever? Can we sit down? Can we spend time in bed? Maybe, you know,
Right.
whatever we, you know, certain options aren't there. So what we can do is to have the people who we can. I have a number of people. I have somebody in Key West 3 hours earlier in the day. I have to be thoughtful about when, but I can call her at 7 o'clock in the morning because it's 10 there. Works very well. I have somebody who is up in New York. I have somebody who's in Hawaii. I have people here. And I kind of choose. It's kind of like when you're going out to a movie. You think about who are your friends do you want to connect with in this movie? Think about who you can connect with and start really cultivating, really growing that connection, letting somebody know what you need. Hey, I just need you to listen. I'm kind of struggling right now. And I just need, if you're an out loud processor, I'm needing just to process. Or I think another thing that's very important if we're talking to another person is to really let them know what you're needing. Sometimes we just want to be heard and acknowledged. We don't need anybody fixing it. Folks, there's nothing to be fixed anyway. Yeah.
Right.
But you
Yeah.
just need somebody to, sometimes you just need to tell people what it is. Or I'd like your input, but there's nothing to fix. So that I don't need. You know,
Right.
that
You just need someone to listen. Yeah.
so clarity again, it's going back to that same thing. What would meet my need, want, or desire? What kind of food would meet it? What kind of friend would meet it? What kind of conversation? So I think it's really the reaching out. I've done that so much more than I have before. And sometimes what I'll do in certain ways is I'll look at what kind of program, if I'm watching one streaming, and what kind of program do I need to see. One thing is, if you need to unplug from the news, which is very fear-based, unplug. I mean, if you feel like just unplug for an hour, unplug for longer if you can. The world will still be okay. You know, I have friends who will say, did you know? And that's helpful for me. But I'll pick a program or music, because I've seen your videos about you dancing, right? Like you're picking music you want to move to. I'm picking, you know, I'm watching Star Trek Next Generation again.
Oh, awesome.
I get whole new messages from it. And I go, oh, I remember that one. Oh, I remember. Oh, what is this? I didn't like that one. Let's move to the next one. But I want it to reflect where I'm at. So if I'm in a lower mood, I might need, you know, when I'm feeling in a sadder mood or a lower mood, not a judgment about it, it's energy. There are times I just need to cry. So I need to get a really good cry movie on, you know, one that I can just, or maybe it's like, okay, I need to shift this. So I'll look at something that will be funnier, you know. So it's again that checking in about how we're doing. So it can be, again, looking at what is it I'm needing, wanting, or desiring. The food can't meet that. If I'm physically hungry, food will. And it's kind of cool to go, do I want something warm, cool, crunchy? To kind of go, what would do it? And satisfied that way is amazing. So, and think about his relationship. Good skill if you're single, you know, me as well. You know, what am I needing or wanting in a partner, in a meal, in a movie? It's all the same question. You're just looking at differently on the spoke.
It's funny how we don't listen to ourselves. sometimes, you know?
Maybe even more than sometimes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, so let's look at the culture, which is all part of it. We're being told as men or women, single or married or committed, which after this maybe not be the word to use. I don't know. Little humor in this, folks. Really, we're not told to. We are living in a very highly medicated, very highly distraction-built culture. Go
Mm-hmm.
out and buy something. Go out in this. If you go to the grocery store, I've really noticed I can get as much vegetables as I want, including organic, in most of the stores. But you go down, I guess they shouldn't call it the snack aisle. They should call it the comfort, soothing, numb me aisle, right? Like, let's be really clear. You
Right.
can't find stuff there. There's stuff that's like, yeah, the shelves are empty because
Right.
people reacted to that. So how do we listen? That's such a great, that's such a great point, Brenda. How do we listen? We have had more quiet, which has also been quite lovely at
It
times.
has, yeah.
Right. And in that time, we are confronted with a squid on our face, and that squid has our name on it. It has our life on it. It has what we're doing. So sometimes it can be in a way we were going 90 miles an hour and then we're stopped real fast. We didn't necessarily have tools with which we already had practice with to use. Right. So when I'm talking about the listening and asking those questions, those are tools. So how do we listen is by being willing to, having a good cup of coffee. I mean, to me, a good cup of coffee doesn't match all the time. Sometimes the coffee has a different feel than tea, but something warm in my tummy, that's soothing. I don't need to eat more than anything than that. I can have the tea. Sometimes I need well, I don't eat dairy typically, but I'll have almond milk or soy milk or something in it, or I'll do something else because I'm needing the tummy food because that's where my discomfort is and is needing soothing. I don't need to go through a bag of chips or whatever that is, or Kit Kats or whatever that might be. Right. But in that time, it's giving me soothing. It could be taking a walk. It could be like taking a time out and get yourself out. It could be that you have your favorite jammies and you wear them, or your favorite warm, you know, I live in Arizona and my home is still cold. I haven't opened up all the windows. So I've got things that has to feel a certain way. These are soothing, you know? So we can do that and have somebody, if we're not used to doing it, have somebody we really can trust, who we can show ourselves to say, I'm struggling. I've had to do that. I was struggling once mightily and called a friend and she said, okay, I'm here, I'm listening. And in the process, I got what was going on for me. And it was so helpful. I could come back to myself. So does that help?
It does, yeah. And that's a really good point, because I have people in my life like that too. And like, sometimes it's just like, you just need to hear them say everything's going to be okay. And once they say everything's going to be okay, like, you just know it will be. And having someone like that in your life is worth gold, you know. It's just an incredible
and
thing.
If you don't have it and you're really struggling with it now, that's a signal of you need somebody in your life like that. And if the people that are already there in your life, is it that you dismiss them? Is it about you being more open and being vulnerable? Or is it the people whose company you're keeping that you need to start taking them out? They start weeding them out, being again what's more clear, you know, for you. So to kind of, I just want to, so with the stress eating, it is the food and it's not. How can you have a more healthy type of food to eat? What would satisfy in doing that? And if you do eat something, be kind and gentle to yourself, because the shame, the guilt, or the blame is all about judgment, and it's going to have you eat even more because now you feel worse because of what you've done and you're no good, or whatever your self-talk is. Switch. The other part is becoming more clear about what you're needing, wanting, and desiring. What are you needing around food? What will satisfy? What relationships will satisfy? What will this satisfy? And as you said, how do we do that? By checking in, and who do we connect with as well?
Well, thank you so much, Beth, for joining us today. And if someone wanted to seek you out, how would they find you?
Well, there's a couple of ways. One is my website. It is my name. So it is Beth, BethKeil.com. There'll be, if you see discovery session, click on it. There's an online schedule that somebody told me today there are none there. I've got to go back and put some more on. Really, that's good. And the other way is you can also call. My work number is area code 302. I am in Tucson. I work virtually. This whole thing going virtual and being at home, I've been doing this for over 3 years now. And it's still really hard as an extrovert. I'm just saying. So in calling me, it's area code 302-598-9642. But the best way is really going to the website, because then you can click for a date and time that works best for you versus phone tag. So let me take my number back and just say, go to the website at BethKeil.com, one word, and click on discovery session and 30-minute complimentary phone consultation to go deeper into this.
Well, thank you again so much, Beth, and I hope you stay well and safe. And thank you so much for joining us on Midlife Single, and we'll see you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.